So we're now fast approaching the end of section 1 of the course, and this is me just getting warmed up. That's right, we're just getting started. I think we're up to about 5 hours of training already. So to start wrapping this section of the course up, I want to really just take a closer look now at this concept of perception. There's a cognitive term that was coined by, I think it was actually Aaron Beck, called perceptual variances. Now, all perceptual variances are just simply the way that we all see things differently. How each of us could be looking at a certain thing, or a certain scenario, or a certain event, or experience, and be interpreting it in totally different ways. So on a very, very simple, basic level, just to help you, grow in awareness of this, let's look at the number 8, all right? Or is it the number 8, or is it a pretzel? I don't know. What do you think? Now, to me, it looks like a number 8 because I typed in number 8 on a keyboard. But could you imagine if this was like a big number 8 that was wedged in the side of a mountain range somewhere, and then you've got all of these hikers from all around the world coming in there, looking down in this kind of cavata, what do you call it? So kind of like a thing inside of the mountain, and they're looking at this engraved number 8, and this guy over here's absolutely starving, and all he can think about is food. And what's he going to think? Oh my goodness, that looks like a pretzel. Oh, I could do with a pretzel right now, because it kind of does look like a bit of a pretzel, doesn't it? If you look at it from the side, from a certain perspective, or from a certain angle. But what happens if this person up here is a biology student? All right, and they're into DNA and all this kind of stuff. He's just been up the top of a mountain, reading about some DNA or some new biological scientific method, and this is kind of in the forefront of his mind. And then he jumps on the radio to this guy here, and this guy here, Mr. Red, says, "Hey, John, have you seen this big pretzel that's wedged in the ground down there?" And Harry, he says, "What are you talking about? All I can see here is the DNA symbol. All I can see is a little bit of DNA. I don't see any pretzels." And then Mr. Red says, "Well, what are you talking about? You must be blind, because I can see a big pretzel down here." And he says, No. All I can see is a big DNA symbol." And then you've got Jimbo. Jimbo's purple, and he says, "What are you talking about, guys? That's not a pretzel. That's not a DNA. It's a number 8. I have a bird's eye view in this. It's just a number 8. Stop looking at this from all sorts of weird and wonderful perspectives. It just is what it is." Then you have Mr. Yellow, and he says, "Oh, it's a wave. It's the wave symbol. Look at it. Look at it." He's kind of like a surfer dude sort of thing. I'm not even sure what wave is. It's kind of like a logo, isn't it, for wave? I'm not even sure. I don't even know what sort of brand that is. But he does, and he's saying it's wave. It's wave. What are you talking about, you insane man? That's most certainly not a pretzel, and it's definitely not DNA, and it isn't number 8. It's wave, because I'm all about wave. And then you've got the gamer up here, and he says, "What are you goons talking about? That's not wave, it's not number 8, it's not a DNA, it's not a pretzel, it's infinity, it's the infinity symbol, because I'm all about the universe and infinity and all matter is one," and all this kind of stuff. He's been taking like a really philosophical course or something like that, while sitting at the top of the mountain up here, and as he's going down, he can just see the infinity symbol. But then Mr. Purple, he says, "Well, no, it's just the number 8. That's all that it is." He's quite a practical mathematician, actually, who's just been working on some mathematical equations when he was walking back down the mountain. But then you've got Mr. Orange up here, and he's just come from the local bingo hall, and he was thinking about Two Little Ducks 22, and then he was thinking, lucky for some, number 8, because in some cultures, the number 8 means lucky. So then they all jump on this radio channel, and they're all arguing with each other, because they're all looking at this symbol right here, but they're seeing different things. And guess what? Guess what remains exactly the same? The symbol. The symbol remains the same. It's just being viewed upon and perceived, and it's being interpreted differently by all these different guys. And my friends, this is perceptual variance, all right? The way in which you're experiencing this course right now is just going to be the way in which you're experiencing it. You might be saying, "I love this, it's great," in which case You do love it, and it is great, but you might be thinking, this isn't rigid and stuffy and academic enough for me. I was expecting something else, in which case you're going to be perceiving it in a totally different way, all right? Perceptual variances. How about these guys, all right? Let's picture a couple of guys here. Could you imagine, because I told you that elephant story a few videos ago, didn't I? Could you imagine what would happen if 4 blind guys were to walk into that circus arena, all right, and were to stand in front of an elephant? So the first guy, he grabs the trunk, and you then tell the guy, the blind guy number one, you say to him, right, you're holding on to an elephant here. And he says, no, I'm not, I'm holding on to a snake, because it feels like a snake. You can't see the elephant standing in front of him, and the elephant's being very quiet as well, by the way. But then the second guy, he's down on the floor because he's a bit more of a cautious blind guy. And what he does is he grabs sort of the elephant's leg and he says, this isn't an elephant, it's a tree stump, because it's massive and round. So it must be a tree stump, because that's what I feel, that's what I think that it is. But then you have the third one, well, he grabs sort of the ear, which feels quite leathery and quite rough. And he says, no, this isn't an elephant, it's a leather jacket. That's what this is. And then the fourth guy at the end, well, he just fumbling around, he grabs the end of the tail and it's all fluffy and a few little hairs. And he says, no, this isn't an elephant, it's just a little mouse. Now, this is a crazy, silly example, granted, all right? Just a little bit of fun. But can you see how when we don't appreciate the full picture, when we can't see everything, which none of us, we can't see it all, by the way, we are always going to be trapped by our own limited perspective, our own perception, right? Our perspective, our perception, the way in which we see things becomes broadened. Our map becomes broadened when we benefit from hearing and seeing what other people are hearing and seeing. This is why it's good to compare notes with people sometimes. This is the this is the idea that I'd like to wrap this video up with, all right? Leonardo da Vinci, he once said, there are 3 classes of people. There are those people who see, there are those people who see when they are shown, and then there's those people who do not see. All right, what I could say is there's those people who don't even want to see. All right, maybe there's 4 categories of people. What do you reckon? Now, what I've done here on this board is I've put all sorts of symbols. All right, why? Because sometimes a picture can paint 1,000 words, can't it? I mean, how about if I was to ask you what that means? What would you say? All right, think about the last text message you wrote, or do you send emails with emojis on, or are you on Facebook Messenger, something like that? That generally has all sorts of positive connotations. But are the connotations that you would assign onto this emoji the same as the connotations you would assign onto that emoji? How does this emoji make you feel? How does this emoji make you feel? Or is your interpretation of this emoji determining how you feel? How about this symbol? Because it's just a symbol, it's just a circle, it's a very, very similar shape as this emoji down here, but it's different. It's black and it's white and it's got a cross in the middle of it. I mean, could you imagine, right? If I was to stand here right now and say, nothing, just do this to you. Would this be okay? Because Winston Churchill kind of used to do this, didn't he, all the time, and he was like a good man. But then could you imagine if I was to maybe turn my fingers around and start going like this? Right? Would that be better than or worse than me going like this? Most likely it's going to be being perceived as being worse than. But I guess that's just going to be determined by how we are interpreting that which we are seeing, perceptual variance. Could you imagine being a grunge singer, all right, where you're in grunge clubs banging your head to all heavy rock music and all that kind of stuff? All right, this is probably okay in that context. That probably wouldn't be seen as being so okay in this context. But in terms of peace and war, well, that's okay, but that's not okay. All right? Same way if we're talking about war, and I mention the symbol, or I point towards the symbol, what war does this symbol represent? That's right, World War II. Good, bad. you decide, based upon all the information that you have and the decisions that you've already made. How about this cross here? All right? What does this symbol here mean? Is it good? Is it bad? Well, if you are a Christian, if you are a believer, this is probably going to be quite good. There's a little fish here as well that you'll sometimes see in the back of people's cars. All right? Then how about if someone who likes this symbol and the different colours on this symbol was then to find themselves in an environment where people like this symbol? Would that be okay? All right? Who knows? How about then this symbol? What does this symbol mean? It's like the male symbol, the female symbol. We've got the male and the female symbol connected, and then we've got the male and the male symbol connected. What does that mean? What do you think that means? Is it okay? Is it not okay? And when did you decide whether it was okay or not okay? Who makes up the rules apart from you, my friend? All right, I'm guessing if you like this, if this symbol is okay, then this symbol and this rainbow colour chart is possibly also okay. But if you are really rigid and staunch in saying this is the way, this is the only way, then this probably isn't okay, and that's probably not okay. And I'm not really saying anything here apart from this might be okay, that might not be okay. You have the final say. Isn't that okay? What do you think? So how about then if I was to point towards this, and then I was to get a flag with this symbol, which is just a red stop sign with a rainbow flag behind it, which is just a rainbow flag, all right, and then start flying this flag inside of an environment where they're like this image, or they're like this cross. Would that be okay? How about if my intention is just, I don't like rainbows. I prefer living in a world that's just black and white, because many people do. What happens if I just don't like multicoloured things? But what happens if this rainbow, this multicolour, means something else? What would that mean? What about this? What does this mean? Well, that's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. That's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. sign, which is a Marvel thing, and I love Marvel superheroes, so I like all that. Now, how about this flag? Is this flag okay? Is this flag okay with this symbol on the flag? Some people are going to be saying, get that off, burn it. Other people are going to be saying, yes, equal opportunities. Let us be a fully inclusive nation and all this kind of stuff. What about this flag here? If I was to stand in the middle of the US of A and say, yeah, God bless America. But then what would happen if I was to stand in front of this flag with a symbol and say, yeah, that's totally okay? How would you perceive me then? Right, friends, I'm meddling with you. I'm playing with you. All right, just a little bit. Skull and crossbones. Look at this. One final one I forgot to add in here. I'm just going to move my little box over here. We've got the Iron Throne, right? That means that Game of Thrones Season 8 is going to be starting very, very soon. We're looking forward to that one. But this cross here, this image, that's exactly the same shape as this one up here. Why is it okay? Why is this one okay, but why is that one not okay? What would happen if I was then to cut some holes out of a pillowcase, put that over my head, and stand next to that? All right? And then go like that, or like that, or like that. Would that be okay? Would that not be okay? My friend, we're talking about perceptual variances. There's three classes of people: those who see when they're shown, and those who do not see. And then there's only those people, or those people who only see what they want to see, or won't see anything else other than what they want to see. Are you with me? All of this is going to be determined by how open you are in your thinking and how flexible you are in your perceptual variance. So, interesting idea. Listen, I want to share with you one story to wrap this section up in the next clip. We've put together a little mini resource here. This just compiles, I think it's 10 different images. It's just going to invite you to say what you see. And then once the test is finished, just gauge to see how accurate your perception may be. Because I guess perception is one of these things. We all like to think that how we perceive things is right all the time. But how we perceive things is actually just how we perceive things. 9 times out of 10 can be totally different. In fact, completely contrasting from how everyone else in the world sees things. How we see things is always just going to be determined by where we're standing and looking from, what we like, what we don't like, and what our entire life set of experiences has informed us is what's okay and what's not okay up until now. So hope you found this light-hearted video okay. Work through the resource, and I'll see you again in the final clip of this section of the course.